You know, 1 in 10 Americans have free money just sitting right in their government offices, and they don't even know about it. Actually, it's in your state offices. And I just saw an article in the New York Times recently about this again. I mean, I thought that's what's so nice being in business so long. Same business. I can reuse ideas. I've been talking about this thing for 10, 20 years, maybe more than that. You know, I remember I got off a show in a taxi cab in Los Angeles, and again in the airport, the cop came up to me and said, "Hey, Lesko, I saw you on some show the other day, and you told about this unclaimed money. Man, I called and got he said like $1,800 or something." You know, and what's neat though now with the Christmas season, this is a good place to look at these offices and find gifts for all your relatives. Right? The woman who wrote the books with me, she used to do this every Christmas. Yeah, and find, you know, in the states where they live, they have databases, and you just look, you know, and say, "Oh, Aunt Helen has $1,200 sitting there, and I'll do a little gift certificate. Here, Aunt Helen, here's a gift for $1,200. It didn't cost you anything except a few minutes of searching on the internet." And the article in the New York Times about the money that's available in the New York State, you know, they said there's money there for Madonna. See, they're supposed to find you. You know, these state governments are supposed to find you, but I don't think any of them even know where Google exists. How to find anybody. Also, Madonna and Jerry Seinfeld had money sitting there for them, you know, when they were doing their research for the New York Times. So, I mean, how hard are they really working to find you? That's why anything that's free, you have to do the work to get it, you know, and that's what's cool. And the kind of money, why do you have this money? It's like all the stuff in your life you forgot about, you know, like bank deposits, or somebody put a bank deposit in your name, or insurance companies, you know, you're maybe the beneficiary of some insurance policy, or maybe you started an insurance policy 10 years ago, or a deposit account. Maybe your grandmother, you know, when you were born, started a deposit account in your name and you never even thought about it, you know. Or it's actually like maybe a last paycheck. Maybe you left some company, you know, 20 years ago and you were mad. Man, you know, and the paycheck period was a month later and they got this check sitting there for you. Security deposits, you know, when you moved to Milwaukee and you needed a $100 security deposit, you know, for the to get electricity or whatever. That's gift cards, right? There are states now that have gift cards, money, unused money on a gift card. Wow, that's a lot of stuff. So 1 out of 10 people, and it's something like $33 billion that's just sitting there going unused, is a big thing, and the bureaucrats are sitting on it waiting for you to call, but you don't have to call. And actually what happens, there's companies that set up and they'll send you a letter saying, you know, we know the secret to getting this money, you know, that just in your name there, and you just give us 20% or 35%, or they'll charge you $35. Nonsense. You don't have to do any of that, you know, because the people, the elected officials who run this are dying to do it, give you, because, you know, if they give you money, you know, from their state, man, you vote for them longer, right? Because you think that they did it personally, you know, but they didn't, you know. And that's the average. The average claim is like $1,500 or something like that from these holdings. And there's a couple of websites, okay, that you could start looking. One is called missingmoney.com, missingmoney.com, and that's really with all the state government offices in one place. So you could just go to the one place, put in your name and your state, and they'll look for money. You get a big list. You can just put in your last name and see, maybe because you use 3 different names or whatever, you know, like that. And that, you know, there's some private organizations that do that, but this is the Association of Government Offices. So they're never going to hit you up or sell your name and stuff like that. So that's missingmoney.com. Now another website that's good on this is for IRA accounts. I mean, I was reading a story here, this one grandma, you know, at 92 years old, she had like 27 IRA accounts. I think she was picking up toasters or something from all the banks in town if she opens an IRA account. So, you know, so it's these money sitting in IRA accounts that you don't know about. Again, they're supposed to find you if you don't. There's a national registry that has about 200,000 of these accounts, and that's at unclaimedretirementbenefits.com. So that's unclaimedretirementbenefits.com. Because you may have retirement benefits that you forgot about. I mean, I taught at a university, years and years ago, when I was in my 30s, which was many years ago, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I get this thing. It's like $25,000. I had no idea it was there. Forgot all about it. So we can't know everything in life. Life gets complicated as you get older, or even younger. You forget easier because it's not important. Then also MetLife, life insurance policies that maybe somebody made you the beneficiary of, or that you started a policy, 20 years ago and paid a couple months and then forgot about it and everything. Well, there's money sitting there. MetLife.com/policy finder has a database for their policy. They're one of the biggest. So you go to metlife.com/policy finder and to start looking there. Now, I also did an interview with the state Secretary of State in Pennsylvania. And you could see that interview. There's about a 10-minute interview that he explains the details of what they have for the state government. You go to youtube.com/MatthewLesko70. And you just search for 1 in 10 Americans have money in their state capital. 1 in 10 Americans have money in their state capital. That's what you search for on Google. And it's on Matthew Lesko 70 account there. Don't forget, they couldn't find Madonna, so they sure as heck aren't going to find you. 1 in 10 Americans have money sitting there. Again, a gift item for imagine you put it up, a nice little gift card at Christmas, and you, hey, here's where to get your $1,200. And it's free to you. Wait! You don't have to search for the interview on YouTube. I put it right here, so watch it now. Well, give us your name.
And my name's Rob McCord.
Well, thank you for having us here, Rob.
Sure.
He's the treasurer of Pennsylvania, and this office is so neat. I asked him if his house was as neat as this.
I have a lot of staff to help me here.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful. I mean, I'm always fascinated by government officials and what they do, and I know you have some great things that the average citizen should know about. So tell us about your office.
Well, I will, and I can't resist by saying I'm a longtime Matthew Lesko fan, so that might mean I'm certifiable. And you turn this. No, but first-time caller. That's our first-time caller. So we served together on in an operation at something called the Congressional Institute for the Future back in the day in D.C. And you're always a great entrepreneur. It was a bipartisan thing. People getting together talking about wild ideas like that human activity might cause global climate change.
We were talking about it earlier, and you don't have to listen to this, perfect. Is that I think why we got along, you just want to do so many things. When you had a board, I mean, I don't know why the board always asking all these questions. I mean, you had a guy like you who was smart and everything and wanted to accomplish all this, and they would all just put roadblocks. Why you were shit. The guy wants to do something. Let him do something. We're not doing anything. So what are you doing here?
Well, the Treasurer's Office in Pennsylvania, a little more than half of the states in the United States have directly elected state treasurers. So it's a really cool gig if you can get it. Because it's a statewide office, you have standing to speak about anything that connects to the economy and economic security and investment.
Are you part of a ticket?
I'm actually a different party than the current governor. I'm part of the loyal opposition. I'm a sort of a pragmatic Democrat. I have a Wharton MBA. I helped to create a few thousand jobs in private equity. I'm very proud of that background. But I'm also a progressive, and I'm a Democrat. And so it's different because in Pennsylvania we have a Republican governor, a Republican Senate, Republican House. And the state has a 1.3 million vote Democratic majority. So I'm sort of
How'd you get all those Republicans?
Well, it's a little bit the voice of loyal opposition. Now, I ran in 2008. A lot of less affluent people only turn out to vote in presidential cycles. 2010 was the gubernatorial election. That's when the state house also went Republican, et cetera. And I have a lot of friends in the Republican
Some of your best
caucus.
friends,
Not my, I didn't say necessarily. I joke that I represent the Dwight Eisenhower wing of the Democratic Party.
That's how I feel we all are. I mean,
I don't know about all, but I do think a majority of Americans don't think the word moderate, don't think the word pragmatic, don't think the word compromise. They don't think any of those words are dirty words, and they're a little sad that there's a hijacking by the extremes.
And both parties.
Absolutely. Right. And so anyway, so I was independently elected. I came out of business, ran against some machine-backed people in a Democratic primary, ran against a machine-backed
really? Wow.
Yeah, it was really fun. And it's also fun because you can be a bit entrepreneurial about how you form the office. And we very much look at the job in three different ways. You're a fiscal watchdog. You're also the chief investment officer. I help to invest $100 billion a year. We've made tens of billions of dollars. But the other thing, and as a fiscal watchdog, we help to stop tens of millions of dollars of bad checks from going out. It's better to stop waste before it goes out.
Bad checks mean the government?
Well, they're about to pay somebody who shouldn't be paid.
Oh, I see.
We do pre-transaction audits, et cetera. But the third role we wear is I'm really also CEO of a 420-person operation.
Wow.
And that operation does a couple of things. It processes, billions of dollars, $70 billion worth of transactions. But it also runs programs that are designed to increase the economic security of Pennsylvanians.
That's
by the way, we pay for ourselves several times over while doing it. So the whole the positive cash flow from unclaimed property alone it pays for Treasury 3 times over.
Honest to goodness.
Yeah, it's about a 60 to 70-year-old thing, unclaimed property.
Tell the folks about that.
Yeah, and unclaimed property is arguably the first widespread national consumer protection process that was developed at the state level. And at Pennsylvania, we're certainly leading edge. We're huge. We have almost a couple $2 billion of unclaimed property. And it's very, very important for the average person watching. If they're just clicking saying, I check out Lesko.com because they give me ideas about where to find money. If they're going to listen to nothing else, they should just check out, if it's across the country, missingmoney.com.
Okay.
They happen to be Pennsylvania residents. In addition to remembering the name McCord, they ought to also check out patreasury.gov.
So patreasury.gov is our
website, and you can search, and it's very easy to use. And we have all kinds of people who will help, and we have very high customer satisfaction.
What's in there now? Explain how money gets
there. So it's any kind of sort of abandoned property, and you abandon property without knowing you're doing it. We were talking before the camera turned on about how most of us who have any kind of government backing of our mortgages, and usually mortgages get government backing in order to be tradable. And so these large mortgage providers want you to have it. So they then want you to have a certain amount of equity in the home, but they also want you to have certain types of insurance. Sometimes you build up a property value in that insurance. You sell the house, you forget you have that value. The mailing maybe goes to your old address. You're never found. That would be an example. An escrow account that you set aside and forget to close down. A last paycheck. A lot of us have multiple jobs before we get our long-term job. We're moving around. A security deposit. A gift card.
Or something?
Yes. Apartments. A gift card.
Gift cards?
Gift cards go
on you.
So we have $8.6 million of unclaimed property in Pennsylvania just flowing from gift cards.
So like a Sears gift card might be in there?
Exactly.
Wow.
So first of all, from the consumer point of view, purely for looking for their money and us reuniting their money with them. There's a great national association of unclaimed property administrators, and they've set up missingmoney.com.
That's the website
which is
for all the states.
Which is fee-free. You check for the whole country and say, gee, do I happen to have any? And what I'm amazed by, I didn't do this at all until I started running for treasurer. Pretty much every year, I find some more unclaimed property in Pennsylvania.
You mean for yourself?
For myself.
Okay.
and in Pennsylvania, I give more away to charity than I collect, but meaning of my own personal assets. But it's a very interesting process. We estimate about 1 in 10 Pennsylvanians has unclaimed property. The average claim is $1,200.
The average claim is $1,200
in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And so it's not just
1 in 10 Pennsylvanians could get an average of about $1,200.
Well, the average claim that's made, because a lot of people might check and go, well, it doesn't look like I have much, and they might not bother to do the claim. And we have to check that there's no fraud. It's not like you just call up and say, trust me, I'm Matthew Lesko. Don't you like my voice? Send the check to the following P.O. box. So there's a certain process you go through, but we have worked hard to reduce the length of time, have cut that more in half since we came into office.
And how big is that fund now?
It's just short of $2 billion.
$2 billion. billion.
And then this is the other thing for anybody watching who's a little bit of a public policy.
And that's
nerd.
just Pennsylvania.
That's just Pennsylvania. Right, it's about $33 billion, I believe.
$33 billion
as a whole. So there's $33 billion out there, about half of which is still claimable. Like a lot of times you have unclaimed property that's both unclaimed and undeliverable. Like you literally can't make out the names, or they don't.
I see.
But usually, if somebody is deceased, they have proper heirs and so forth. Yeah. So it's a process that has been significally made easier by public entities that are out there. So for free for an American citizen, they are able to do these searches. The other point I make as a public policy nerd too is this is also positive revenue that's created without any distortion to the economy. So you say, well, gee, we're all worried about deficits. Right. We're all worried about taxes. We're all worried about public debt.
It's sitting in some bank.
Right.
Otherwise.
So the whole Pennsylvania Treasury, we transact $70 billion worth of transactions. We help to invest $100 billion a year. We do stuff that people definitely have to apply a value to. All of our operations cost $33 million. We supply $115 million roughly of positive cash flow annually to the general fund of Pennsylvania through unclaimed property alone. And part of it,
how do you get it for the because it's unclaimed property, nobody's getting it, so that
right.
So there's like another $150 million extra that you guys just keep.
So
in the treasury.
part of what happens is
that's off the books now.
Well,
off the $2 billion.
Yeah, the way I want to be careful with my phrasing. But generally,
run again.
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works is. Somebody has unclaimed property. Maybe a bank has an unclosed account or whatever. After a certain number of years, 3, 4, 5 years, they're legally obligated to turn that money into the states nationally. This is the national law. Because I owned so many companies coming out of private equity, I thought, gee, I didn't know about this law. I wonder what percentage of business leaders and business owners know about this law. We did actual consumer research and tested business leaders, and we found 92% of business leaders didn't know of the existence of this law. So we've driven up the supply of returns, the capital being through voluntary compliance, just by alerting people that, unbeknownst to you, you're probably not in compliance with this.
I see.
So they take, sometimes it's money that they're using. Often it's just goods that they're leaving, so to speak, and they're lost and found.
I see. So instead of keeping it in their, basement, they're giving it to you.
Exactly. They give it to us. We process it. We the first of its kind continuous online auction. So unless it's a very scarce good, we auction it off on eBay. Correct?
Right.
Yep. And
eBay, it's all over.
So you can find all these things on eBay, but in addition, the property then has a cash value, a surrender value. About half the time, people never claim that property. So you can model for about half of all the property you're collecting turns into positive revenue without the distortions that are created either by tax signals or by any kind of debt.
How long are you able to keep it?
In Pennsylvania, it's in perpetuity that they are owed it. So there's never the injustice of saying, well, if I just showed up 6 months earlier, this would have been my money. Now, some states are what they call escheat states, and those states say after 10 years, if we've had it for 10 years and you haven't claimed it, it's ours now. I don't mind that in a sense the state owes it perennially, because after 10 years, the odds of somebody finding it are vanishingly small, but I like reuniting people with their property. If it's your property and you're owed it, we should give it to you. On the other hand, if you're not going to claim it, the public in general should benefit from that endowment. And so and also, frankly, it's an increase in the amount of benefit because the average business isn't well put together to do a continuous eBay auction, to provide internet and telephonic.
It'd be a small piece whether you have an aggregate of everybody doing it.
So it's a really nifty way that, and we go out of our way to return property, to find people both in poor neighborhoods where the money's going to get respent very quickly, and that's good for the economy as a whole. We also find a lot of entities that especially help people, first responders, entities, and entities that help poor people. And after,
what do you mean? You'll go.
So we'll look under the name of their entities
I see.
proactively in Pennsylvania.
Oh, that's interesting.
The McCord Treasury, we're trying to be innovative. We're trying to do everything we can to behave more like an entrepreneur, clever entrepreneur like you. And we ask the question every few weeks, what can we be doing that's new and different that maybe helps people economically. And so we've done a lot of tweaking of the unclaimed property and a lot of reform of the unclaimed property process.
So that's why you say you even have personal help and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
If you get on the website and put your name in,
exactly.
What the heck am I doing? And,
that's right.
Well, that's terrific. No, I believe in that. Now, there used to be, and maybe they're not around anymore, companies, for-profit companies that used to, do this for you.
Right. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, because as a business person, I don't think you should illegalize intermediaries. But these entities are legally allowed to charge up to 15% of the value of what you're doing. So if it's a $1,200 claim, you're paying them $150 to do what you can do by clicking onto either patreasury.gov or missingmoney.org. Again, it's missingmoney.org. So people should really, this is one where a little bit of self-help is a pretty significant.
Or just the knowledge that it's there.
Yeah. On the other hand, 85% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
Is that the limit? They can't take more than 15%?
That's right. Legally, they can't.
But they'll probably figure out another way.
Wouldn't surprise me. Here's your application fee followed by, I don't know. I don't want to overly cast aspersions, but
Well, what else are you doing? I see you doing other neat stuff. I mean, for businesses and.
Sure. I mean, first of all, it'd be unfair to the Office of Treasurer not to just highlight them. Your main job is to help invest huge amounts of assets in a way that gets you the highest possible risk-adjusted return. So you run cash management accounts, because a lot of this is sort of a checking book.
As a consumer, I don't care.
Right. As a consumer, but as a Pennsylvania,
as a taxpayer,
you care. You're in Maryland, you care about. You got a really good state treasurer in Maryland, by the way. But in Pennsylvania, the average Pennsylvanian would care, because we help to return tens of millions of dollars.
Now, when you return tens of millions, that means you're making money out of the investments?
Yes, exactly.
I see.
And we use things like secured debt, high-yield debt, which had not been done before. So we did some clever financial innovations. So there was a return on my Wharton education.
Right, I was going to
for
say,
the
this
Pennsylvanians.
Is right.
So that's it. I just say that really just to educate people who might in their own state say, I've never thought about the Treasurer's office. And I do think in politics there's a danger. We all will get obsessed now with the Obama re-election campaign and presidential politics, maybe some senatorial.
That's a chunk of money.
There are a lot of offices in the United States of America. There are 50,000 elected offices.
I'm sure the financial services industry know you well.
Yes, that is true. They're not allowed to contribute, but they do know me well. But it's I would urge people who are thoughtful enough to check on your website, I would encourage them to give themselves the homework assignment of asking what other elected offices that I haven't necessarily thought much about might have a lot of importance on me. Zoning boards. Wow. How are they appointed? Are they elected? What are they doing in your neighborhood? Are they affecting the drinkable water, the quality of your parks, the quality of your real estate? So that's I just make the point because we're talking really big money in the Pennsylvania context. And I'm a business leader who's run Treasury as a business leader would. Increased efficiency by roughly 19% in a variety of measures.
Like the biggest thing you do then is manage that money?
Yes. And that's, in fairness, I'm just being, in part because you're an old friend, I'm being fully disclosing. So you say, well, gee, you've made, a $40 billion difference over here and a $400 million difference over here and a $40 million. So I'm enough of a business guy that even though it doesn't necessarily glitter in the light as a consumable, but back to the consumer side. We do several things at PA, and again, they can just click onto patreasury.gov to find any of this. You, like I, have a lot of interest in energy issues. One of the portals into energy policy is the question, can I spend less on it? Is there a way that I can do things to my home or to my commercial real estate where I save more in the long run than I spend? The silver lining is I've reduced my carbon footprint and maybe, I'm not damaging the environment as much as I might have. But
who cares about that?
But right now I want to make money. And you say, look, spend $3,000 now, and you're going to make it back in a year and a half, and after that, every year you're making $1,000. The average person says, hey, I think I'll make that investment. And so we help people. We have a home energy loan program.
Oh, so you have money.
Yeah, we do that. We do it through investment vehicles with significant protection for the principal. We get market rates of return. It's really a lot of fun. But from the taxpayer's point of view, it's a good return on investment. It's a good risk asset, and you also are getting people to reduce the cost of energy generally because you're reducing it. But for the consumer, it's straightforward. I'm getting a discounted loan for cash up front because it might cost you $15,000 to retrofit your house with all kinds of clever things that will pay for itself over 3 years. But it's like, where am I getting that $15,000? So we help with that. We do it in coordination with federal grants. Again, just check out the Keystone Help Program for Home Energy Loan Program. All of this is searchable through patreasury.gov. And then the microloans. I mean, the idea there, and it's been a little tough, honestly, because interest rates dropped so low. But my concern as an entrepreneur was to use community organizations to make sort of microloans to entrepreneurs.
So you're being like Starbucks.
The sort of $50,000 loans that a lot of people, especially women, were coming off of the unpaid workforce, doing the most important work we ever do in life, raising our kids, and they were stroking their credit cards, which is a very dangerous and expensive way to fund your business. We wanted a substitute for that, so we gave birth to a bunch of micro-lending initiatives.
And this is run through community banks?
And there's a term of our community CDFIs, Community Development Finance Institutions.
But I mentioned because that Starbucks giving out money for entrepreneurs, they're running it through CDFIs also. So that's why they stole your idea.
Actually, let's do a search. Let's check how that's going for them.
Because they just started. I interviewed somebody read a big article. I saw that he was. I don't remember the head of Starbucks. He wrote this article about not give any money. And now, so he said, he's going to do something. So he's kicking in a whole bunch of money to start. And then you go into Starbucks and buy a bracelet, and that money goes into this fund.
And I mean, I'll just freeform riff while we're hanging out together here, and you can clip it for something else as if you will bother. But I do think one should always think about the highest, best return of their money. And is there a good way to contribute? And, obviously when you contribute to a losing campaign, it's heartbreaking, right? You go, shoot, maybe that was a mistake. But I for the really good-hearted people who aren't giving money to get something, I think there's a real hazard to saying, I'm going to unilaterally withdraw and leave the field. Because you can bet your bottom dollar that the people who are giving money to campaigns to get something are still in the field giving money. So, for those of us who are a little leery of what look like special interest, custom-built public policy to favor special interests, that's there because they're making campaign contributions. So you have some good-hearted entrepreneur who's wealthy enough to give money just to get good public policy, saying, I'm sick of getting the campaign calls. I think it's intellectually flabby. And I've heard nice things about the guy, but you can tell him I said that. And if he wants to have a conversation,
that's interesting.
It's the wrong thing to do. He can have all kinds of other audits. He could be in a public policy sense supporting a move towards public financing of campaigns.
That would be good,
or a variety of things. But unilateral withdrawal is no better in political battle than it is in any other. And he's unilaterally withdrawing.
But now the money, I guess. So you're saying he's withdrawing from the political battle. So he's just by putting the money into...
By saying he can afford to do both, first of all. And second, there is no charitable field you can bring up that isn't significantly shaped by public policy decisions. You want to give to your opera, you want to give to early childhood development, you want to give to clean water, you want to give to global climate change, you want to give to senior care. There is all of those, more than half of all the resources in all of those fields are generated by public policy decisions and frequently, in my view, failures. And to say, well, I'm not going to have anything to do with that, even though I can afford to because, I get too many fundraising calls. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Billionaire. That's not that heavy a burden. And it isn't, it's the case is that the money's coming from the wrong sources. It's not the book, and I would imagine you like it, the Freakonomics, two economists. He said that the presidential elections, all federal elections combined, and this had to be 2006 maybe numbers, all of them combined amounted to less money spent than we spend on chewing gum in America every year. So this, I'm appalled. It's the way it's gathered and the way electeds are forced to be obsessed with fundraising calls that's really wrong. And it saddens me when a really good-hearted person who wants to do the right thing says the best cure is
pure, yeah. No, you're right. I mean, campaign finance reform sounds like, and that's what I sort of feel is the bottom line of the Occupy people or something. I mean, that seems now to be talking a little more in the.
And it's not an easy thing to fix. Because you're asking people to call in napalm on their own position.
It's not real easy at all. Yeah. Oh, this is wonderful.
So we do a lot. It's really fun. The Treasury, because it's independently elected, we can be innovative. We've done a ton to help people with economic security in economically challenging times. We've run the office like, big-hearted but efficient business leaders. And we have a bunch of programs, including unclaimed property, including PA529.com, including a micro-lending program. And people, because of, word of mouth and great internet capacities, people can check out all of this via patreasury.gov.
And what you're saying about people saying, I don't care what you do in the government as long as you stay away from me.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the great stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's great to see you. Thanks. Have fun.